Okay, now we have Kim Legerwood with us. She's a retired police officer, and I asked her to tell us about her background. Welcome to my show, Kim.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. My background is I have just retired from the police service. I have 30 years service. Currently, just turned 50 years old as well. I have two grown daughters, and I am pursuing now being an entrepreneur.
Mm, that's good. So, um, have you a lot of difficulties in your life when you were in a police service or other than service? Did you pass through a lot of difficulties or not?
Yes, I did. Yep, absolutely. Yes.
So can you tell us a little about those difficulties?
Well, being a police officer and being front line in a big city such as Toronto, there's a lot of things that you see and experience over the years. And so a few years ago, as a result, I was diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder and cumulative and anxiety. So I'd had those diagnoses. I didn't do anything with them, meaning I didn't see a doctor. I was supposed to, and of course, being a typical officer, we usually don't acknowledge when we need help. We can help others, but we don't get the help ourselves. So I continued on with my career, and until one day an incident happened, I attended a call and I didn't have a choice but to acknowledge my mental health issues because they were triggered. And from there, at the time, I thought my life was basically going down the toilet.
Hmm.
Everything that I'd worked for was going to be taken away, not by anybody, but from the fact that I'd become addicted to substances that were altering my ability to function properly and who the person I wanted to be. And realizing that um, and asking God for help because I didn't know what to do with myself and I couldn't stop doing what I was doing in regards to the addictions. I asked God for help. And from there, He helped me and I actually checked myself into a rehab facility where I got help for my addictions. I've now been sober, it'll be 2 years in May. I
Mhm.
also stayed longer. It was, you live there. I stayed additional 2 months so that I could get help with my post traumatic stress disorder.
Mhm.
So when I came out, the real work happened because trying to keep it was recovery time
Mhm.
without the help.
So your mental health caused by the addiction, or there was another reason for
No,
breakdown?
the mental health issues was caused from policing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know.
from
It's
traumas, trauma after trauma after trauma, in
mhm.
critical incidents that you ignore. You don't really deal with them at the time. Sometimes you can go to three really bad calls in a day, and you work 7 days in a row, and there is no time to process those things that you see and deal with, and they just compound until it's like the straw that broke the camel's back.
So is there any special psychological services for police officers that deal with trauma or not? You have.
There are, yes, absolutely. The service that I work for has absolutely there is more than enough help available, and we all know where we can get help. It's the matter of taking that help, taking the step to actually,
Yeah.
yes, do something about it.
Okay, good. So when you uh, try to recover, so you ask for help from God.
Mhm.
when you realize that you need God's help, because you thought you don't need any help, right?
Yes.
When you realize that.
When I realized I needed help was I had been ordered off work due to not wanting me to re-injure myself mentally by seeing anything further before I could get help for everything else that had already happened up to that moment. So being not at work when I'd worked since I was 13 was devastating enough to me, on top of having the mental health issues. If somebody were to say, you know, your job is taken away from you, your career is gone, and then you're just at home alone, it's very much a situation where you're probably going to fall farther into your addictions because there's nothing else to do. And that's what happened to me. So I was sitting on the couch. I was knee deep into my addictions. I knew I didn't want to be doing what I was doing, but when you're addicted to something, you can't stop. And I was like, I was rock bottom. And I looked up at the sky and I said, God, I need your help. I can't do this. And the next week I saw my doctor and I told her I need to go to a rehab because I need to be basically locked up and held accountable for my actions,
Mhm.
if you know what I mean, right?
Yes.
I needed to be treated like a child, basically. Because if I went left to my own self as a grown woman, I had a home, I had money, I could get stuff brought to me. You know what I mean? I had the means and there was nobody telling me that I shouldn't be doing what I was doing.
Yeah, one of my uh, education that I went college that I studied, it was addiction worker. So I know the steps that addicted person goes through. First is the denial phase, and they don't want to accept that they are in trouble until they hit the rock bottom, and then they realize that, oh, I have to do something about it, and then
Yes, exactly.
they ask for help and they have to continue that. And there is a different help, and there is uh 12 steps as in normal steps that I guess everybody goes through. And then when you recover from rehab center, uh, how do you see the world around yourself, because you were out of the job, I think. So
Yes.
what did you do?
Well, when I got out of the rehab, I went back home again. So that was when it was really hard because now I didn't have anybody monitoring me and I was free to do whatever I wanted,
Mhm.
right? Like if I wanted to go back to my addictions, I certainly could. Um, but I didn't want to, of course. But so it was really, really, really hard. And it seemed, I mean, there was no COVID, so you can go out, right? You went to restaurants, and I didn't realize how much alcohol plays a part in everywhere you go. If you were to go to sit down and have dinner, well, they bring you a drink menu, or the drink menu is already on the table, or there's a big giant drink menu on the chalkboard that you're looking at. There's everybody is drinking, you know. It was like you don't see that when you are drinking, but the minute when you're not drinking, all of a sudden it seems like it's like it's coming at you from every angle. It's almost like it's teasing you. Do you want to
Mhm.
drink? Do you want to drink? So so it's really just me making the decision whether I'm going to or not.
Mhm.
And at the time, I did have a support with me that helped me through those weeks. And then, and he was a friend who also was in the rehab, and he relapsed. He fell back, um, and I didn't. I kept it up, and now I can't even fathom drinking. I can't even fathom doing it. It's not part of my vocabulary. And now I've surrounded myself with people that are like-minded and they don't drink either. And it's not a big deal. I thought if I didn't this in my mind when I was sick and I was addicted, I thought really how much fun can you have without alcohol? I didn't understand how people could live without alcohol in their life
Mhm.
because it'd been such a huge part in mine always. And then it got worse and worse and worse after my incident happened.
Mhm.
And then to go now, I go, oh my God, I can't even imagine having a drink or having to rely on a drink to be social, to have fun, to fit in, whatever the reason is. It was never because I liked the taste of it. It was I don't even remember the taste of it because I would drink it so fast. It
Mhm.
was to get that feeling of numbness because I didn't want to deal with the stuff that was coming about in my head.
Mhm.
You know what
So,
I mean?
yes, I know. When you ask God for help, uh, how can you describe it, the God's help that you received? How do you know God helped you?
Because he gave me the answer. Because I wasn't thinking of checking myself into a rehab. Are you kidding? Like that just sort of solidified the fact that I was never going back to work because now I'd marred myself, so to speak, that I've actually had to take that action. So but it wasn't even like after I asked him for help, it was like he was guiding me to ask my doctor to go to the rehab. And then after I went to the rehab, and a police officer going to a rehab facility is it is something else because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect when I went there because I'm not Kim the cop when I'm there. I am just Kim in the addict,
Mm,
the alcoholic.
yeah.
I'm like everybody else. There's no special treatment for me. Um, but it was where I was supposed to be. I was angry because I was mad that I happened to be working when that incident happened and I was there. I
Mhm.
was mad at the world because I was 2 years from retirement and I thought, oh, I'll be able to get through to my retirement and I'll be okay. But I know that all of it, even me being there on that day at the incident, at the call, God wanted me to be there
Mm,
because as I first saw it, that He said, Kim, you are not well. You've been needing to get help for years and years and years and years. And I got to hit you over the head with a frying pan in order for you to realize that you need help. Because had I retired and not got help, something would have happened. And then I wouldn't have the help available to me. So, all through the 4 months that I was there, I had a feeling of peace and calm. And first time I was introduced to AA, the program,
mhm.
which is completely, it talks about the higher power. Um, and to me, that's God.
Yeah.
So even that was just falling right into place with my
Mm,
with my recovery.
mm,
And I just knew he was with me. I never felt alone. I've never felt alone since. And now my relationship with him, because I always believed in God, but I didn't know what a relationship with God really meant
mhm.
until I do now, you know?
So, yeah, so you stay connected with God after solving your problem, right?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? Yeah, he's my guy.
Mhm. That's
He's
good.
still looking after me.
Yeah.
What I did is I gave up my will. I gave
Okay.
up my will because I said, God doesn't want me sitting here on the couch getting drunk every day and killing myself and not doing anything and masking my emotions and my feelings and stuffing everything down. That's not a healthy life. He doesn't want that. He wants the best for me. He wants the best for everybody. And now he's fulfilling that because he's like guiding me. I'm even what I'm doing now, I feel I'm doing his work.
Mhm.
And I've always been in service with the police and, serving the public. And now I'm serving the public in another way.
So
And
how do you, yeah, let's continue if you want to say
something that
something.
keeps my mental health hell happy, right? It's not policing. It's something that really makes me happy. And which is why I'm thriving. My doctors say that they can't believe my progress. They can't believe my progress from where I was to where I am. And I know that, what I want to share with the world as what I feel is God's work in my entrepreneurship. And it had a lot to do with my recovery. And and I just know that God is watching over me, and I'm just following what he is leading me to with every opportunity that comes my way. It's amazing. And I take it, and I take it as a sign from him putting it there.
So how do you came up with entrepreneurship after your retirement?
Well, I always had a side hustle, put it that way. I always did something in addition to policing, because the money was always needed. I was a single mom. And it always had to do with sales, ironically. And then, so this time I found 2 years ago, at the same time that my incident happened, I found a product um, that uh, it's a product that makes water. It's a water ionizer.
Mhm.
And I didn't really drink water at the time because I was drinking alcohol, right? But then when I went into the rehab, I didn't drink alcohol anymore. So I started to drink water at the rehab, and where I was, the water, the tap water was awful. So when I got to come home on the weekends, right? Because then I'd have to go back there and live for the week, I started bagging my water from home. It's ionized water, and I would bring it with me.
Mhm.
And and I know that it had an effect on my recovery because it can hydrate your brain, unlike any other waters. And I started bringing like 16 bags of water back to the rehab with me every weekend to give it to other people that were staying there,
Mhm.
that were in the same program as me, because it helped them, with the fogginess and the clarity in their brains. It was awesome. And that's what I mean. That's how I feel. It was God leading me to be able to do these things and help people. And now I'm doing it, let's say, in the real world now. So that's what I'm doing. I share water with people. I ask them to change their water for 3 weeks and try this water and see what happens.
Mm. That's good. So you can testify that God helped you along the way, and because some people doesn't believe God leading them. Maybe we see all around us signs of God wonders, but we cannot believe that these are God's signs. Do you have something to say to those people?
Oh my God. It is God's sign. It is. He's not going to come out and he's not going to write out something on a piece of paper and leave it for you. Or maybe you're not going to hear his big voice come and tell you something. You need to get out of that mode of thinking of that's how he's going to communicate to you. He's going to communicate to you in ways you're going to know when it happens, but it's not going to be the conventional way that you expect it. And you just have to accept it. And there's just a feeling of peace in knowing that he is watching over you. Everything that comes, just accept as God's will. And if things don't go, if something happened that was negative, that you didn't expect it to be negative, and you're like, well, why did that happen, God? If you're looking after me, he meant it to happen. Because if he's closed a door that way, it's because you weren't meant to go through that door. Or if he's put up a roadblock, you were meant to take that challenge. Because everything is to better yourself. He is not going to ever harm or hurt you. You just have to completely let go of the ego, let go of whatever it is holding you back, and trust him, because he is God. He, you know, it's just let go.
Okay, thanks. It was all my question. Thank you in accepting my invitation and comes to my show, because I know everybody can learn from those talks that and your experience. Um, I myself passed a lot of difficulties, but I know I can relate to you. But some people doesn't experience those difficulties that you passed. They need to hear from you goodness of God and how can they trust God. Thank you for being in my show. uh, I wish you success, and I hope you uh, go forward in your business and be successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.